in one battle after another. When their evil nemesis resurfaces after 16 years, a band of ex-revolutionaries reunite to rescue the daughter of one of their own. One Battle After Another is, of course, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, who has directed films such as Boogie Nights, There Will Be Blood, and Licorice Pizza. Okay, that plot synopsis that I just read off Letterboxd is not correct, and I'll go into detail about that. The film starts off, in the first half an hour of the film, there's like a prologue scene where we're introduced to these ex-revolutionaries. It's set 16 years ago, and these revolutionaries are comprised of Leonardo DiCaprio, Regina Hall, Teyana Taylor, Lana Haim, among a few others. And the first half an hour of this film is kind of like a heist film where they're kind of like breaking into on the US-Mexico border, they're breaking into a imprisonment camp, which is run by Sean Penn's character. And they're also doing some like bank robberies, and then doing bombs, like doing phone calls on public phones, and planting bombs in certain politicians and certain key figures. And the first half an hour is very quickly paced, and just from one job after another. And as I said before, it's very much like a heist film, and these revolutionaries are quickly like revolutionizing against ideas and politics that I don't agree with. And in that first half an hour, they do this bank job where they're robbing a bank, and Teyana Taylor's character, she ends up shooting one of the cops a couple of times. I think she kills him, and basically this bank job goes wrong, and a couple of the revolutionaries get caught. And Teyana Taylor is one of the ones that gets caught, but DiCaprio, Regina Hall, and a few of the others end up escaping, and they end up getting different identities, and they end up escaping and going into hiding for 15, 16 years. But Teyana Taylor's character, she gets caught after the bank robbery, and she ends up, Sean Penn's character and the government negotiate a deal with her if she testifies against the other revolutionaries in her group. I think the group is called the French 76 or something like that. And if she testifies against them, she can she become put into witness protection, and she ends up accepting that deal. She goes into witness protection, but she doesn't last very long. She ends up running away, and we see the last time we see her in this film is her going to the Mexico border and walking through the gates, and that's the last time we see her in this film. In this first half an hour, when Teyana Taylor, in that scene where her and her revolutionaries, they break into this immigration camp on the border, Teyana Taylor ends up in this little hut with Sean Penn, and then they have a bit of a back and forth and a bit of a attraction to each other. I think it's a mutual attraction, or at least Teyana Taylor is pretending to be interested in him, so she doesn't get into any danger, and that they form a little bit of a relationship in the first half of the film, and then he tells her that if he will let her continue on her revolutionary ways if she agrees to meet him in a hotel room and form some kind of relationship, because he's attracted to her personality, to her firecracker personality. And we see a scene with her and Sean Penn in the hotel, and that scene is key to the plot later on in the film. And then we fast forward 16 years later when we meet Leonardo DiCaprio, and in the first half an hour of the film, Leonardo DiCaprio and Teyana Taylor, they have a baby, and it's a baby girl. And then once they have this baby, Leonardo DiCaprio, he's kind of like, he wants to forget about this because they have a daughter now. He wants to forget about this like revolutionary life that they're having. He wants to go straight and have like a normal life with the daughter. But Teyana Taylor, she kind of like is not really attached to this baby, so she kind of goes a little bit off the rails a little bit in the first half hour of the film. And 16 years later, when we finally meet this daughter, played by Chase Infiniti, she's living with Leonardo DiCaprio. They're in hiding. I assume that both Leonardo DiCaprio and some of the other ex-revolutionaries, they got a lot of money from this bank heist, so they're kind of like, they have enough money to survive, and they're in hiding. And Leonardo DiCaprio is kind of like a shell of himself. He's basically just sits around in this like like caravan cabin type thing with his daughter, and she's going to school. She's doing very well at school, but Leonardo DiCaprio, he is a bit of a bum. He just sits around at home watching old movies and smoking and drinking and staying out at bars to 3 o'clock in the morning. And the Chase Infiniti character, she's very much like a motherly character to him. She's basically looking after him, babysitting him. But they do have a nice relationship in the beginning. And we do have a bit of an idea in the first half hour of the film that this baby could not be Leonardo DiCaprio's. It could possibly be Sean Penn's. And there is a twist we find out about halfway through the film, maybe in the third act of the film, that maybe Chase Infiniti is not Leonardo's baby, and it could be Sean Penn's baby. So that twist, it's supposed to be really shock us, didn't really shock me. But Sean Penn's character, he hasn't given up looking after trying to find the remaining revolutionaries that are in hiding at the moment. And Sean Penn's character in the final hour of the film is still hunting these characters, and he ends up capturing one of the revolutionaries, and this revolutionary does end up very easily giving up the names and addresses of Leonardo DiCaprio and Regina Hall and a few other revolutionaries. So Sean Penn's team tracks them down one by one, and Regina Hall has to rescue Chase Infiniti from a school dance, like a school event, and she rescues her, and just before the Sean Penn's army gets there. And she takes Chase Infiniti to this kind of like nun recluse camp far away, just to hide her for a little bit. And they end up finding out where Leonardo DiCaprio lives as well. But Leonardo DiCaprio, he manages to escape before they get there, and he goes to this karate dojo run by Benicio del Toro, and he seems to have a lot of connections, and he helps Leonardo DiCaprio get away from the Sean Penn's group. But Leonardo DiCaprio, he ends up getting caught by the police, but then because of Benicio del Toro's connections, he ends up getting away, and then Benicio del Toro rescues him from the prison, and then they go on the run and go to this nun recluse thing to try and rescue Chase Infiniti from Sean Penn's army. And there's one subplot throughout the film that is very important, is because Sean Penn, he has a very prestigious career. He's worked on the immigration border his whole life, I think, and he's very well respected. He has decades of experience. He has a lot of connections. He's very well respected. A lot of people respect him. And he wants to join this white supremacy corporate CEO group called the Christmas Club or something, and that's kind of a very comical subplot throughout the film. And in the final act of the film, they find out that when he's applying for this group, they find out that Sean Penn may have fathered a mixed race baby, and because they're a white supremacy group, they can't accept him into this group. So they send out a hitman to find Sean Penn, and in the later stages of the film, when Sean Penn has kidnapped Chase Infiniti, once Sean Penn has kidnapped Chase Infiniti from this nun recluse thing, he takes her to some connections, and he wants her killed because he does a DNA test on Chase Infiniti, and he finds out that he actually is the father of her. So he wants her killed. So he takes her to some connections, South American connections that he has, but she ends up escaping, and then she gets into a car and she drives off to Chase Infiniti. So in the final stages of the film, Leonardo DiCaprio, Chase Infiniti, and Sean Penn are on this kind of desert road in the middle of the nowhere, and Leonardo DiCaprio is trying to find out where Chase Infiniti is, because he has kind of this tracker where if he gets close to Chase Infiniti, he can find her quite quickly. And Sean Penn is driving, and this hitman from this Christmas club ends up finding Sean Penn and shooting him while he's driving, and then Sean Penn drives off the road. And then this hitman also tries to find Chase Infiniti as well, but Chase Infiniti, in her car, she outsmarts him and ends up killing this hitman as well. And the final stages of this film is Leonardo DiCaprio ends up catching up to Chase Infiniti and rescues her, and then there's a happy ending. And then Sean Penn actually survives that car crash, and you see him bloodied and walking along the road, and the final scenes of the film is him going back to this Christmas club and trying to explain why he has a mixed race baby and he got raped or something, and then but they end up killing him. I want to spoil what happens, but there's this nice comical scene where they don't accept him into this. They pretend to accept him into this club, but they end up killing him. And the final scene of the film is Leonardo DiCaprio and Chase Infiniti. Leonardo DiCaprio gives her a letter from her mother. We find out in the film that she's not dead, she's not in Mexico, she might be hiding somewhere in Cuba. We're not really sure where she is, but the final stages of the film allude to that maybe eventually, once Chase Infiniti has grown up a little bit and she accepts that her past and what she kind of life she's living now, that she'll be able to reunite with her father. And the final scene of the film is Chase Infiniti leaving. She's kind of like has this kind of radio thing where she can hear what kind of revolutionary type protests are happening, and she tells her father, "I'm going to go to this protest," and drive off. And then Leonardo DiCaprio says, like, "Be careful," and then that's the end of the film. I guess Chase Infiniti is going to take after her mother. Okay, one about after another. I did enjoy this film quite a lot, but I did have some issues with the film. It probably is not in my top 5 PTA films, but I still definitely recommend checking out this film. It's very, very entertaining. I'll just go through, there's not much, but I'll just go through what I didn't like about the film. I think some of the characterization is not very, I think basically there is no characterization except for Sean Penn's character. He's fantastic in this film. I think Sean Penn and Chase Infiniti, they definitely give the most amazing performances in this film. They definitely stand out in this film. But Sean Penn's character, he's very layered and has a lot of contradictions to his character. And Sean Penn, he's played a lot of showy characters before, but this is a very internal performance. Like, he does get to shout in the performance. He does have some showy scenes in this film, but it's one of his most internal performances. Like the PTA, he zooms on his face a lot in this film, and he does a lot with his face and a lot of his body in this film, and it's definitely one of his best performances that he's given. But I found a lot of the characterization in this film quite lacking. And I don't really know how PTA could have fixed that, because the film is about 2 hours and 35 minutes long once the credits come up, and I think that combination of lack of characterization and that first half an hour of the film is so much happens in that first half an hour of the film, and that time span is so long. And I found that the politics and what this revolutionary group was trying to do very, very murky. I wasn't able to comprehend what they were really trying to do, and because they were terrorizing innocent people, they were killing innocent people, and I understand. I kind of have a vague idea what they were trying to do, but I just think that first half an hour just went by so fast that I found it hard to sympathize with this group and these characters as the film along, because especially, and then that ending doesn't hit as hard as I would have liked, because that first half an hour of the film, what they were trying to do in that first half an hour of the film just wasn't explored enough for me. Other than that, I think it's probably the only 2 things I didn't like about the film: the characterization and the murky politics, the murky what they were trying to do. This revolutionary group, what they'll try and do. But this film is 2 hours, as I said before, it's 2 hours and 35 minutes, and it just flies by. The pacing and the musical score and the editing is perfect, it's spot on. Like, the film just zooms by, just bang, 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 scene after scene after scene. It's just, the film doesn't give you a chance to breathe, and it's just such a white knuckle thriller throughout. I'll just go through some of the performances. As I said before, Sean Penn, he's fantastic in this film. Definitely one of his best performances, and he definitely gets the benefit of the most layered character in this film. Leonardo DiCaprio, he's very good in this film, but I don't think he's one of his best performances, but he's very strong in his film. Benicio del Toro, he's not in the film very much, but he's quite good in the film. Regina Hall, she doesn't get a lot of screen time. She just looks serious the whole time, but she's okay. Teyana Taylor, she's only in the first half an hour of the film, but she's a firecracker. She's fantastic in the first half an hour of the film, and Yeah, she's such a sexualized, fire-cracking performance. She's fantastic in the film. Chase Infiniti, she's fantastic in the film. She is basically the only sympathetic character in the whole film, and she is our inlet as a viewer in this film, and she really shines in this film, and she is definitely a star to watch in the future. I just want to give a shout out to two performances that I really liked in this film. That is Tony Goldwyn. He's kind of like the head of this Christmas club that Sean Penn is trying to join, and these Christmas club scenes are kind of like treated as comic relief in the film, and Tony Goldwyn, he's like kind of like he's very matter of fact in the facts that he's saying in his groups, and that comes across in his performance. And I'm about 90% sure an actor called Jack Trout, he plays the head of this group by Sean Penn. He has to interrogate a lot of people in this film, and the interviews he does with suspects in this film are quite humorous, and he has a very dry sense of humor, and he's sometimes serious and sometimes comical in this scene. And I really want to shout him out because he's not really an actor I'm very familiar with. I love the sense of humor this film has. It doesn't matter how serious a scene is, that there's always a comic outlet in the scene, and the film never takes itself too seriously. And I think that's one of the reasons why the 2 hours and 35 minutes just breezes by, because it just scene after scene after scene, and thrilling and comical, and Leonardo DiCaprio has a lot of nice scenes, especially you've seen those set photos where he's talking on the public phone, and there's this kind of like revolutionary hotline. It's very comical, and then DiCaprio doesn't remember the passwords because his brain is fried, and so there's a lot of comic relief in this film. I love how the film doesn't take itself too seriously, and the film, of course, is like every PTA film, it's extraordinarily well made. I really liked the scenes towards the end where Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, and Chase Infiniti and that Christmas Club hitman are driving along the road, and the way it's shot, and it's very bumpy, like up and down, up and down, up and down, and it's just it's not one of the best chase car scenes I've ever seen, but the way, on a really big span of a road, that they're all chasing each other, and they're driving past each other, and then at DiCaprio, he's not aware that which car is which, and just those final scenes are very well shot. I give One Battle After Another 4 stars out of 5. This is a very funny, entertaining, thrilling thriller. Not one of my favorite PTA films, but I love how it doesn't take itself too seriously, and the performances are all very strong, especially from Sean Penn and Chase Infiniti. Chase Infiniti is definitely a star to watch in the future. But I just found some of the characterization a little bit lacking, and I found the revolutionaries, what they were trying to do in this film, I found a little bit murky, and that because I found that a little bit murky, those final scenes didn't hit as hard for me as I would have liked. But yeah, I definitely still highly recommend checking out this film, One Battle After Another. It's definitely a very thrilling, funny, surprising film that you'll thoroughly enjoy. What do you think of One Battle After Another? Please comment below what you thought of the film. See you next time. Bye.